That's the whole point. They want to be treated as royals. And that is the one thing they were told you can't do. You can't be inside or outside, just choose. So I think if Ravik decided to give them a royal protection, that would be a terrible, terrible mistake. And Harry's presence in Britain is always a problem. That's the issue. Harry and Meghan and Harry are dynamite together.
Harry is deeply unpopular, and he has been whining about security for 5 years in a manner that does not endear him to anyone.
If he really felt the way he says he felt about his family, that this is this older institution, he compares his father and brother's life to being in jail or trapped in a cage when he talked to Oprah Winfrey, then why would you set your child up for that by insisting they have a title?
Exactly.
Nobody seems to ask Harry the one question that keeps hanging in the air. Not Oprah, not Netflix, and not even the biggest interviewers. The question is simple. Do you regret it? Now, with only weeks left before his expected trip to Birmingham, the security dispute still hasn't been resolved, and even people familiar with the situation quietly admit that nothing has really changed.
Everyone just looked at each other with utter disgust. The words expressed to my source were, "We can't say too much, but Meghan was incapable of fitting in with anyone because she couldn't cope with following simple rules as she felt her way was better."
The headlines tell one story, the reality tells another. First, let's clear up the confusion because many reports have blurred the facts. Harry isn't traveling to Birmingham for the Invictus Games themselves. Those won't take place until 2027. This July's event is only a one-year countdown celebration, giving everyone a preview of what's ahead. Even so, the event has become wrapped up in the same ongoing debate over security protection. You've probably already seen the bold headlines. Harry has won his security fight. It's just a formality now.
And the fact they don't give interviews to any other than people who they cultivate and control if they can, nobody ever asks them, do you regret having lied to Oprah Winfrey? Do you regret having lied on Netflix? And all the magazine interviews, don't you see what a terrible mistake you've made? And are you prepared to apologize? That, I think, is what we're waiting to hear.
Deal done. That's the story being pushed. But here's the part many reports barely touched on. When people connected to the Sussexes were directly asked about the situation, the response was that, as far as they knew, nothing had changed regarding security arrangements. Think about that for a second. The same reports celebrating a victory are quietly being questioned by people connected to Harry's own camp. And that raises a pretty obvious question about where this victory narrative is really coming from. The main issue hasn't changed. Harry already receives police protection during many visits to the UK when advance notice is provided and security assessments supported.
So, to be a little bit more specific and clear here, Harry lost his legal challenges to the process used by Ravik. The press is framing the current situation as a win, which is problematic, only because he is ultimately achieving his goal of getting police protection, but he is going about it through administrative channels rather than the court.
What he reportedly wants is guaranteed protection without additional reviews, the level generally linked to working members of the royal family. That's exactly where the disagreement continues. Critics argue that he stepped away from royal duties while still seeking benefits connected to that role. Reports have also suggested that Meghan and other close family members are not expected to travel to Britain unless those security arrangements are formally confirmed and documented. Beyond the headlines, there's continuing speculation about something much bigger.
If he contacted the Ravik offices the way it is right now, 28 days notice, itinerary, we determine on a case-by-case basis exactly what you need. If the man says, my wife and children will be accompanying me, don't you believe that Ravik would be like, yes, you will have armed guard?
Whether King Charles could appear alongside Harry at next year's games. For people hoping for family reconciliation, that's still the dream outcome. Remove all the headlines and speculation, and the picture stays the same. A high-profile disagreement, a family divide, and a situation that still looks far from resolved. Another major talking point involves an incident that is often mentioned during discussions about Harry's security concerns. The claim centered on a woman who allegedly came very close to him during a UK charity event on more than one occasion. Supporters saw it as proof of genuine security concerns.
Do I personally think that he's blowing this a little bit out of proportion? Yes, I certainly do. Like I said, I get stalkers can be deeply unpleasant for famous people to deal with, but like, she didn't have any weapons. She didn't have any crazed ideations. It doesn't look like the threat is ongoing. However, Harry was sure to publicize these incidents. He leaked it to the press that this happened twice and the extent to which this woman got close to him, and lots of details were made public about it from Harry's team.
Skeptics weren't convinced and made that clear online. One theory that gained attention claimed the woman was actually a familiar face among Sussex supporters rather than an unknown threat. One commenter summed up that skepticism by saying it was about as real as that New York car chase, and many others repeated similar opinions. The New York incident itself also became heavily debated after an investigative journalist publicly questioned parts of the story and closely examined the claims in detail. That leaves one question many observers still keep asking. If the woman truly posed a serious threat, why didn't the situation lead to criminal charges? Then there's another point critics often mention. During one widely reported visit to the UK, Harry was said to have gone door to door looking for a friend's house, with very few people recognizing him or paying much attention.
Because the way that is calculated is there a threat?
Right.
And there's no threat to Meghan or her children. They've never shown a threat. The only threat has been that they'll be photographed by paparazzi, which is, of course, what they want.
Well, which is what Meghan does 24 hours a day in the house.
Exactly. and summons people to spot her at a restaurant or somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think, on the contrary, I think they won't allow them to abuse the system.
That's something many commentators still bring up. Some observers say it's difficult to match claims of ongoing security concerns with moments where he appears to move around without attracting much notice. Whether that's fair or not, the debate hasn't faded. Now the story becomes even more complicated because recent events have changed the conversation. Reports surfaced about a masked man carrying a crowbar who was allegedly found near Sandringham, raising fresh security concerns connected to Prince Andrew. That incident was treated much more seriously, and even some of Harry's critics agreed that appropriate security measures matter whenever high-profile public figures are in the UK. So the discussion about security isn't being brushed aside as easily anymore.
And he lost that case, he appealed it, and he lost the appeal in spring 2025, leaving him with no other further legal action possible to take. Like, that was the full end of the story. He cannot sue again, basically. And it's worth noting at this point that the threats that Harry and his family potentially or allegedly face are nowhere near as serious or constant as the working royals, King Charles, the monarch, Prince William, and his family, and all the direct heirs, for very obvious reasons.
But this is where some commentators believe the lines start to blur. A credible security concern gets discussed alongside older and more disputed claims, and suddenly everything is grouped into one larger argument. That's what some critics believe is happening. And that's the part many people find the most frustrating. What many supportive headlines leave out is that this situation was never simply about winning or losing. To understand why, you have to go back to 2020. After stepping away from royal duties, Harry no longer received automatic security arrangements and instead became part of a system where protection requests would be reviewed case by case. Advance notice, a security assessment, and then a decision based on the circumstances. Harry challenged that process in court, arguing it was unfair. The legal battle continued through several stages, but the courts ultimately ruled against him. Here's the point critics continue to highlight.
His primary goal at that time was a judicial review because he wanted the public to see, or he wanted to be validated in his feelings that it was an unlawful and procedurally unfair decision. Requesting a fresh review while simultaneously suing to prove the first review was illegal would have been legally contradictory. His team focused on overturning the 2020 policy entirely rather than asking to be evaluated under that policy each year.
Throughout those years, Harry reportedly could have requested new security reviews through the existing process available to public figures. Critics argue that doing that while also challenging the system in court could have complicated his legal case. Because of that, some believe he focused on challenging the policy itself instead of requesting regular reassessments. That's why opponents of his case argue that if a future review results in additional protection, it wouldn't automatically prove the system was unfair. In their view, it would simply show the review process worked the way it was designed to work. For those critics, that's the detail they believe changes the entire story. Now set the security debate aside for a moment, because another discussion sparked a completely different reaction online. Meghan shared a photo featuring a close friend's growing family, along with the caption, "You all know I love a redhead, and before you start, no, it's not Harry's." Laughing emoji.
Ultimately, from my perspective, this just proves that Ravik and the Home Office were never operating in a biased way. It only proves Harry wrong and shows that had he not invested all that time and expense in his petty, silly, ridiculous, entitled legal battles, he could have had this stuff reassessed every single year and may have had this very thing occur, this very same outcome, much, much earlier.
The post quickly caught attention and generated plenty of online discussion. Supporters saw it as harmless humor between friends. Critics saw it very differently. Some argued that a special family moment became a joke centered on Harry and rumors that had nothing to do with the occasion. That disagreement quickly turned into another major talking point in the ongoing debate surrounding the Sussexes. Many people reacted to the post right away, and one comment stood out. The question was simple: who makes a paternity joke while sharing a photo of a friend's newborn? Critics felt the joke pulled several people into unwanted attention at once. The friend's husband, Harry, and the family featured in the post. But what really drove the backlash was what some viewers considered a contradiction.
I think the real interest is how low can they go and when will it all explode or implode?
Yeah.
And that's really why I'm fascinated by it, because I think that, the manipulation of the media by them,
Yes.
by the constant drip of we've got to be recognized, we want people to write about us, but we don't want it to be our privacy to be invaded, is just priceless. And they are the victims of their own dishonesty. That is what is so fascinating.
No one finds it funny, Meghan, for very obvious reasons. Because we do know the truth about your sordid life. Princess Carparkle writing, I promise you.
Meghan has often spoken about online safety and protecting the privacy of young people. She has kept much of her own family life private, taken part in conversations about online risks, and supported discussions around digital responsibility. That's why some critics were surprised to see a friend's family photo shared publicly alongside a joke. One viewer summed up that reaction by saying, "Protect the children unless there's a photo op." That comment spread quickly because it reflected concerns that many critics were already discussing. For those critics, the issue wasn't only the joke. It was the contrast between public messages about privacy and a social media post they believed sent a different message. Supporters, on the other hand, argued the post was harmless and shared with permission. Still, the debate didn't end there.
Nobody thought that. She's the Kelly's Edgefen's baby and still had to make it about herself. Meghan Markle, you are so weird. Don't worry, you all. Harry didn't get my friend pregnant. What is wrong with her?
Some people were also surprised that the caption mentioned paternity rumors at all. Traditionally, members of the royal family have avoided responding directly to speculation. That's why some observers thought it was unusual to see those rumors referenced openly, even as a joke. Critics argued that before the post, very few people were discussing the topic. In their view, the caption gave extra attention to something that otherwise might have passed unnoticed. The conversation then shifted to another issue that has followed the couple for years: privacy. Some viewers questioned why a friend's family photo appeared publicly while Meghan and Harry continue to keep much of their own family life out of the spotlight.
But here we have a woman who has ultimately been given scripts that have been written for her. She has gone to Geneva with the World Health Organization and absolutely talked about things she does not know about. And she's not really bothered about it, Dan, is she? Because if this was a woman that was worried about children's faces being in the public domain, she would not let her friend put that picture out there. Now, yes, it was on Meghan's Instagram, but even if Kelly had said, I want you to do it, you would say, no, this is really something that I'm passionate about.
Others argued that every family has the right to make different decisions depending on the circumstances. Either way, the discussion continued to grow. Then another post sparked fresh reactions online. A Father's Day themed photo featuring an elaborate breakfast tray with croissants, fruit spread, tea, and decorative flowers. Many commenters joked that it looked more like a magazine photo shoot than the kind of breakfast most dads would actually ask for. But for critics, the bigger issue wasn't the meal itself. It was what they saw as a disconnect between public family-focused messaging and reports describing strained family relationships. That's where much of their criticism was directed. According to those critics, they see a similar pattern in other public appearances, charitable events, and media projects where expectations and outcomes didn't always seem to match. In some cases, organizers and participants later shared their own frustrations publicly, keeping the debate going even longer. According to critics, the same pattern keeps showing up again and again.
I mean, it's a very big deal, Lauren, for someone married to a royal to acknowledge publicly rumors of affairs. I mean, that's something that Prince Charles and Princess Diana didn't acknowledge for a very long time. Yet here is Meghan acknowledging those rumors as if it's some type of throwaway joke in an Instagram post. It's almost as if, Lauren, she is encouraging this speculation.
They argue that organizations invite Meghan to help bring attention to important causes, but over time the spotlight ends up shifting back to her. Whether that's fair or not, it's a criticism that continues to surface. Critics often point to overseas visits as examples. In Colombia, reports suggested officials hoped the Sussexes' involvement would encourage strong charitable support, while some commentators later argued the results didn't fully match those expectations. Similar discussions followed their visit to Nigeria, where plans for future opportunities and charitable impact reportedly didn't develop the way some supporters had hoped. Whether those criticisms are completely fair or not, one thing stands out. Invitations for major international visits appear to be much less common than they once were. Then there's Invictus, a cause that many people genuinely respect. However, some first-hand accounts from recent games have sparked difficult conversations. One attendee described seeing thousands of volunteers, family members, support staff, and organizers, while spectator attendance appeared lower than expected at certain events.
It's thanks to Dad, says the woman who cut her own father out of her life, denied him the chance to meet his son-in-law, and never allowed him to know his grandchildren. Now she wants to lecture the rest of us about celebrating Father's Day. The hypocrisy is staggering.
According to those accounts, the overall scale surprised many observers. There were competitors, relatives, sponsors, organizers, and extensive logistical support. For some critics, that raised questions about how the event is presented compared with how it operates behind the scenes. That's where the debate becomes even more heated. Some attendees claim media attention often focused less on the athletes and more on Meghan's appearances. They describe ceremonies where cameras seem to spend more time following the Sussexes than highlighting the competitors. Critics argue that coverage frequently centered on Meghan's outfits, public appearances, and movements. In their view, when media attention shifted away from her,
Colombia, the vice president who invited her, which is described in the book, was angry too because she expected the Sussexes to leave a large sum of money for charity, and they left, I think, something like $7,000 or $8,000. Yeah. I mean, pathetic for a drum set.
I mean, Meghan's literally wearing like a $7,000 shirt in one of her latest AI posts about Shop My Closet.
Overall public interest in the event also seemed to slow down. It's a tough criticism, but one that continues to circulate online. At the same time, some critics have questioned the financial transparency of various projects connected with the Sussexes and Invictus. While many of those claims remain disputed and unproven, they continue to spark discussion among skeptics. Combined with complaints about expensive clothing during appearances linked to serious causes, it's easy to see why emotions remain strong. But beyond the debates over money, publicity, and public image, there's an even bigger conversation. Many commentators believe the long-term question isn't really about headlines, court cases, or royal disagreements. Instead, they see it as a story about family and the lasting impact of major life decisions.
In the wheelchair competition, which I watched, between America and Nigeria, the American team were professional coach team. And they all wheeled themselves onto the court, as did the Nigerians. None of the Americans had a physical disability. They all had all their limbs. They beat the Nigerians 24-0 because they were a professionally coached team. And then they wheeled themselves off into an adjoining area. Now, the 100 spectators in the 2,000 spectator auditorium didn't see what happened next, which I did. I looked over, and they all got up and walk away.
Some view the move away from royal traditions toward a very different life in California as a defining choice. Whether people see that decision as freedom or as a sacrifice depends entirely on their perspective. One thing is certain, though, the debate keeps returning, and it doesn't look like it's fading anytime soon. One theory that continues to come up among critics centers on Harry and Meghan's family. Some commentators argue that keeping their family life largely separate from royal relatives has only increased speculation about what future relationships might look like. Whether that's fair or not, it's a conversation that doesn't seem to go away. Then there's another point critics bring up repeatedly. Harry has publicly described royal life as restrictive and emotionally challenging. In several interviews, he said he felt trapped by the system. That's why some observers ask a straightforward question. If life within the institution was so difficult, why was keeping royal titles for the family considered important? For critics, those two positions seem difficult to square. The discussion grows even larger when attention turns to the future of the monarchy.
Just the specialness of the royal family, the castles, the beautiful grounds, the beautiful homes, the beautiful jewels, the rich history, all of it is only going to become more and more appealing with time. And if I put myself in like a child's shoes who grows up and then learns many, many years later just how special their childhood could have been, and the fact that Harry and Meghan try to manipulate this as...
Reports and royal commentators have often suggested that Prince William prefers a smaller, more streamlined royal family. If that approach is adopted in the future, some royal watchers believe certain titles and official roles could eventually be reviewed. That's where the speculation really starts to build. Some observers believe major changes could happen after the current reign, while others argue the entire discussion has been exaggerated. The reality is that nobody outside the royal family knows what decisions may be made in the years ahead. Then another comparison sparked strong reactions online. A book suggested Meghan's treatment could be compared to Anne Boleyn's. Critics quickly pushed back. Their argument was that Anne Boleyn lived during a completely different period of history, facing political conflict and consequences on a scale that bears little resemblance to modern royal or celebrity controversies.
Meghan doesn't fit in. Meghan never wants to assimilate. Meghan wants to be doing what she wants, and that is not compatible when you are in a royal family. This is, well, you know, why Catherine, Princess of Wales, is such an asset to this family. Many people feel that she's the favourite royal and everyone loves her, but there's never airs and graces about her at all. She is quite happy to slot into that hierarchy underneath King Charles, and she is very, very dutiful. And that's something that Meghan Markle could never get her head around. And Meghan had the world at her feet, and she was the one that ruined it.
In their view, the comparison simply didn't work. And that's where things stand today. The Birmingham visit is getting closer. Questions surrounding security are still unresolved. Different accounts continue to emerge from different sides, and public debate shows no sign of slowing down. As the next chapter unfolds, the biggest question isn't whether people will keep talking. It's what the next major development will bring.